All right, everybody. So we are here for MoneyWise Wednesday. This is our second MoneyWise Wednesday. Here today, we're going to talk about budgeting for MoneyWise Wednesday. Let's just jump right in because we do kind of have a lot of stuff to talk about. And while some of you at home might be going, why in the world did you guys pick budgeting like right now of all times? And I think Herschel can speak to why it's really super important, even if coronavirus weren't happening, which he's going to talk about in just a second. But I think we'd all agree right now, we're really facing a lot of uncertainty in our world, in our life, in our own jobs, right? We're all a little concerned about the unknown. Like, we don't really know. We're hearing about friends and family that have already been laid off. I read a statistic yesterday that said already in the US since the beginning of this coronavirus stuff started, right? Which we're only we're on week 3. Feels like it's been an eternity. But already the U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics has reported that 3 million people have already filed for unemployment. That's a lot of people. So we're certainly facing a time of uncertainty, right? And that, like, a lot of that, it hits home with us, doesn't it? It hits home. So Herschel, tell us, what are you noticing out there? I know stress is a big one. A lot of that uncertainty causes a lot of stress for us. What have you noticed as some trends that are leading to budgeting stress right now for us as Americans?
Yeah, sure. There's several trends out right now that have been noticeable not only currently, but in the past as well. One of the most noticeable trends, Kelly, is whenever you notice that your expenses exceed your monthly income, right? That's a super red flag right there. That's a big one.
Right.
You're noticing that you're carrying a higher monthly credit card balance month over month, and it just won't go, right? Just won't go away. You have no emergency fund, no retirement, and even more so, Kelly, small financial matters, they completely overwhelm you when in reality they shouldn't. Those are the trends that are both past, present, and we're hoping that we can overcome that in the future by having these conversations.
Yeah, no, that's good. You mentioned emergency fund. For people who don't really have an emergency fund or have never thought about starting an emergency fund or feel like maybe an emergency fund even right now starting when it's a little too late, talk a little bit more about an emergency fund, if you would.
Yeah, sure. So the emergency fund should be used just for that, an emergency, right? There's a blown tire, auto mechanical issues, and the inevitable, which we're currently facing right now in this current crisis, is the potential for unemployment. That's the scariest of them all. And if I may, just to bring it into reality, Kelly, in years past, the consumer stress level was meeting the demand of saving $1,000, right? That was the old stress factor. The new stress factor now is $300, Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Consumers that are struggling to save at minimum $300. That's an emergency all in itself, if you were to ask.
Yeah, it's so true. It's very true. It is an emergency of its own. So how would you suggest then that somebody start getting in control of their budget before all of the budget issues or the lack thereof starts controlling them?
Yeah, sure. Kelly, one thing that I'd encourage our viewers to do is to take this conversation seriously. Second thing I'd encourage them to do is visit our website, visit our page, envisioncu.com, and view the budget playlist to educate themselves on whether or not in a position to either hurt or help their financial future.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this content is most relevant and it's pressing. We need to make sure that our members and our viewers are seeing this. Secondly, I'd say reach out to the community development team, right? And ask for ways to connect with a professional to review and assist with meeting their financial goals. Kelly, we can't start yesterday. We have to start. We have to start this today. Today is the day that we start managing our budget. We have to effectively, because we don't know what tomorrow may bring. This is serious stuff.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And I know a lot of folks right now might be going, how in the world could I even think about starting to save right now when I don't know what the next 60 days are going to look like for me? And a little bit later, we're going to talk a little bit about our Skip a Pay program. So if you are a member and you're watching this, we have already come up with a solution to help you at least start a budget or get ahead of a budget by freeing up extra income by delaying some of your loan payments that you have with us. So I'm really excited to share with you about some of that. I already mentioned to you the statistics from the U.S. Bureau of Statistics or Labor and Statistics about the unemployment numbers coming in, and I think they're just going to increase that even more. I also heard another one that said the unemployment rate, as far as what our rate is going to be in the next 30 to 60 days, is going to increase to about 20 to 25%.
Yes.
That's huge, guys. Think about that. 20 to 25% unemployment rate. If that's true, if that is something they're really projecting. And again, I think a lot of those numbers might be specific to regions, maybe not US 20%, but I think what they're hearing is 20% in our area, in our region of the Panhandle here in Florida, stretching across the Big Bend area. Think about too the impact it has on our retirement savings accounts, right? And the investments that we have. I'm not even checking my retirement fund right now, in those investments, because we know that the bottom seems to be falling out. I think those numbers are the worst we've ever seen in our lifetime and may ever see in our lifetime, So I don't want to get all depressed, right, and start talking about those bad things. But the whole point of this is, there are things that we can do now, right, to try to help us down the road, 30 days, 60 days down the road, as we face this uncertainty and as we face the stress. And when we have a budget and we have a plan, we know we have a little bit control, right? We have a little bit more control over how those outcomes look. And I know there are things that are always coming down the pike every day. I know lawmakers are, our country leadership is trying to come up with ways to support and help different individuals, businesses, and all of the above. So as those things, that climate is currently changing day to day. I mean, there's a lot of things on the table, a lot of discussion, bailout money and things like that. So until that day comes, at least let's go ahead and control what we can. And that's in our household, in our budget, right? And what we know we're going to get as far as our own income is concerned. Yeah. So that's what we're here to really talk about today. All right, let's go ahead and jump on over to the MoneyWise playlist, because I think Herschel, you're onto something, and let's show people. Let's show people where they can go to find it. So we are gonna jump over here. You should be able to see this, and this is on our website. So if you go to envisioncu.com, okay, if you click on resources or just hover over resources here, and then go on over to MoneyWise, it takes you to this landing page. Okay, MoneyWise is an educational suite full of different money topics that gives you tools. And what I love about it is it's personalized. So when it asks you a question, you can plug in a specific number in there. There are some high level general topics or questions, but I do like how it's very specific to you and your household. So when you click on Start MoneyWise, it's going to take you to the MoneyWise site, and you're going to be required to log in. I'm already logged in here. So it's super easy. You just put in your email address, or I think you can even log in through Facebook or something like that. And we're going to jump over to building financial capability today. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then you will notice a couple of topics here. Identity protection is the first one up here. If you guys joined us last week, you heard us talk about identity protection and how important it is right now to protect yourself from, people who are really preying on everyone right now during this era that we're finding ourselves in. So if you want to jumpstart some more self-learning on identity protection, you can click here. Today we're going to jump on over to the creating a budget, and you're going to see how easy and simple this is. Without all the talking, of course, it takes you about 5 minutes or less to get started on something here. And I just want to show you what it's like and how you can self-guide yourself at home in the comfort of your pajamas or whatever. This is great for middle schoolers and high schoolers. This content is easy to understand, easy to follow, but very practical for, I would say, any child who already has, or a young person who has a concept of money, but it's great for every stage of life. So in our money topics here, our discussions that we're talking about, I'm sure you guys have found yourself as well in positions that I have found sometimes where I feel like I run out of money before a month, right? Mm-hmm. Before the end of the month. And so creating a budget is the very first step, is just determining what your monthly income and expenses are, right? So that you can just put it down in one simple place so you can figure out exactly where it's going to go instead of wondering where it's going to go. Yes. Or where it went, right?
Or where it's going to come from, or where it's going to come from, or where it's going to come from, right?
That's true. So as we continue here, why should we have a budget? Herschel, you already talked about the reasons why we should have a budget. Certainly there are many benefits to it, but I think knowing where it's going, again, I said it has control, but even deeper than that, MoneyWise here tells us that not only it's a sense of control, it's a sense of empowerment, because
Absolutely.
controlling that and having that empowerment says, I am choosing to put my money here. There's no surprises at the end, right? Unless something in life happens that's unexpected, of course.
Yes.
As long as nothing's changing between now and then, this is exactly how I think my money is going to work out for me. So here's a couple of things. Let me move my screen just a little bit so we can all see this really good. All right, so it reveals waste. It identifies what we consider as your budget busters. Have you guys ever gone through and looked through your statement or online expenses or online purchases and really kind of look at what you've spent your money on? Like how sobering that can be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what are some of the ones you guys are hearing from when you do your workshops? What are some of the things you're hearing that people spend a lot of money on that they didn't realize until they sat down and started looking at their statement?
Please, Kelly, I'll share afterwards, please.
So a big one that I've heard is crafts, people's hobbies.
Really?
You know, they
Okay.
don't think about, they go to the store and they go in for one thing and they end up buying, I know it's something you wouldn't think about, but they end up buying a few things more than they went in there for, and then they just kind of forget about it because that's something that they truly enjoyed doing. They just don't realize that they spend so much money on it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Herschel, how about you? What are some things you hear?
Fast food, the
Oh.
biggest one, fast food. So really quick, I had, as a financial counselor, I often see and provide personal financial one-on-one consultations with both individuals, members of our community, as well as couples, right? As they're bridging their finances together for a long-term goal that they're trying to accomplish. More so sometimes it's home ownership. But what I often see whenever I'm reviewing their transaction history, as I review their journal of their spending habits, fast food is always the top. I just completed one a couple of weeks ago prior to our social distancing requirement. $175 per week. $175 per week. That's just the wife. That's just the wife's spending fast food in the week. The husband has yet to provide me with his transaction journal, but I can only assume that if it's a behavior of both. So can you imagine her spending $175 per week and him potentially spending $175 per week? That's 4 weeks in a month. You do the math. You tell me where her money is.
Wow.
Right. You know, let's talk about that a little bit because Envision is launching in partnership with First Commerce Credit Union. If anybody's been seeing what's going on social media, a support local. It's called #LocalStrong Initiative, where we're giving our own employees $25 this week. Actually, we're all getting our $25 this week, today, tomorrow, to go spend with a local business. Now, a lot of the local businesses that I know my friends are supporting are the restaurants, the small mom and pop restaurants, right?
Yes.
So a lot of folks are wanting to support local, but that's also depleting a lot of their income because they're spending more money eating out now than they were before the coronavirus, right? But then you've got some families that are spending more at the grocery store because they're feeding more mouths more often during the day, right? So I would think regardless of what your mission is, whether it's to feed all your kids at home through the grocery store, right? Or supporting local by eating out at the restaurants, the whole point is just have a budget for it. Just budget it. That's it's okay. Yeah, no one's saying that anything is right or wrong. You decide what your household wants to do. Set a budget and stick to it. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's where that empowerment part comes from. It's like I can still accomplish my mission of supporting businesses and supporting local during this time, and stay within my means, stay within my budget, right? And it might help you get a little bit more creative, I guess. So maybe you go try a restaurant you hadn't tried before, right? Or
Yes.
I know we all love our favorites. We all like our local favorites, so we certainly want to support them too, but it's okay to do it and it's okay to budget for it, But anyways, revealing waste is certainly one of those things. Like when you do sit down and look at your budget, it shows you what you're actually throwing your money on that you don't even normally think about, when you're pulling out the debit card or whatever. So food is definitely the one I hear the most as well, eating out a lot. So obviously we're not eating out more at dinner time unless we're doing takeout right now. So that might be a way some people can save a little bit right now. I know my family is. All right, so it also provides direction. It gives you a big picture view of your finances and helps you set priorities for spending. We've already kind of chatted about that. We don't need to spend too much time on that. And then, of course, it educates. It teaches you to use money as a tool to achieve the things that are super important to you. Enlightenment, right? You don't know where you've been, or you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. I like that saying a lot. Is, you know, you're educated a lot more on what's out there and other options that you might have. And then lastly, it creates new habits. What's that saying that it takes 21 days to make a new habit, right? Oh gosh, I hope it sounds like we have more than another 21 days left of this time frame that we're in, but what better time to focus on a new habit, right? While there's so much change in the air and so much uncertainty in the air, something you can get control of. So it really helps you focus on your priority, especially if you think there might be potential job loss in your household during this time, or maybe that has already happened and you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do to somewhat be in control over the next couple of weeks or months. So it helps you really focus, I think, on what those new priorities are for your household, and helps you kind of say no to those things that are unnecessary and break some of the old habits that you have. I'm sorry, there's one more. No, we said this one reduces stress. All right, perfect. All right, so let's carry on here. Scroll down just a little bit here. Up next, we're going to see how we decide to spend money on. You would think this might be common sense, but for some folks, we need a little bit more accountability, especially if I'm the only one in my household and I don't have a family, or I don't have somebody else that is also earning an income. I may need a little bit more accountability. So that's why I love this program so much. How to decide what to spend my money on. When you create a budget, it's important to be able to really identify the differences between those wants and needs. And again, this sounds super fundamental, but when it comes down to it, a lot of us are tempted, right, by the things we want, because we feel like, oh, it's been a rough couple of weeks for me. I deserve this.
Reward myself, right?
I'm going to reward myself for doing something like that. But when you're sticking to a budget, you really have to be able to determine what those things might be. Obviously, we know that a need is something that is necessary for basic living. A want is something that really makes your life more comfortable or enjoyable. Now, this is where we're talking about the personalization. So this is a list of expenses here on the screen. If you're at home doing this on your own, I would encourage you to go through this on your own. We're going to do it just for demonstration purposes today. Which ones do we feel like are wants and needs? I'm going to let the two of you kind of answer the questions. We'll come up with like a group question here. So a prepaid phone for emergencies. Do you think that's a need or a want? Now, again, opinions are going to differ, and that's okay. It's important that we just identify what works for us. So right now, assuming that we're one person, what would we pick here?
That's a need.
Okay. Rent or mortgage, is that a need or a want?
That is a need.
And why is that a need?
Because we need somewhere to live.
It's one of those essentials, right?
Yes, it's an essential.
Roof over our head, all that stuff. Yep. Groceries, are those a need or a want?
Need.
Okay. Electricity.
It's a need.
Okay, here we go, Herschel. Your dream car. Your dream car. Need or want?
So that is obviously a want, unless you budget and save for it, but that's a want.
All right. The latest smartphone.
Want.
Cable TV.
Want.
Eating out.
Want.
All right, so we're going to submit this here. All right, so we have selected all of these choices here, right? Distinguishing the difference. And then we're going to continue on. And then this is where you actually get to kind of figure out what is breaking your budget, all right? So we're going to, for the sake of time, we're going to kind of go through this real quick. But like, let's say that I purchased coffee, and this says in a 7-day week, how many coffees do I buy? So I could just plug in a number here, right? So I'm just going to say, what if I do 2? I don't pay any tolls. Fast food, this is what you're saying. What if I ate fast food 6 days a week, for the example you gave earlier? ATM fees, how many times am I grabbing cash from a non-Envision Credit Union ATM and spending on fees? Let's say I'm doing that twice a week, right? car sharing, Uber, something like that might be here. I'm just gonna hit submit and see what, oh, I have to pick 0. I'm sorry, I have to zero these out, showing that I don't spend anything on these. All right, so hit submit. Now here we go. I'm spending $54 a week. That's $219 a month. That's $2,849 a year that I'm spending on my wants. That's a lot of money, guys.
That's an eye opener, Kelly. That's an eye opener. And keep in mind, you're on the low side of what you chose, right?
I'm doing it an individual person, not a household budget or anything like that, right? And I know people who get coffee from Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts every morning on their way to work.
2 or 3 times a day, Kelly, at times.
Yeah, that afternoon pick me up. So this kind of gives you an example. So we're not going to, finish the whole thing, but you'll see the next things over here in the left margin. Where does my money come from? That's what you were talking about earlier, Herschel. How does my budget compare? Tracking my expenses. What are some other key points? And then what are my next steps? So there's some practical application here that you can go in and really plug in. But then what I love about MoneyWise down here at the bottom is it gives you some advice on what you could do to really cut some of those expenses and cut some of those costs. Okay, so a lot of folks we mentioned earlier might really be wondering, how in the world do I start setting a budget right now when I have all these extra expenses, or I'm not even really sure how much money of my income right now I should put away in the event that there's an emergency or something like that. So we're really excited to launch our Skip a Pay program. Now, many of you may have heard about the Skip a Pay program before. It's been something that our members have been able to opt in for. So they've chosen if they want to skip a payment or not. And under the certain circumstances that we're in, we decided to go ahead and give everybody Skip a Pay for 2 months. So I actually talked to Jason about it yesterday, our head of our loan servicing team, and I want to share that video with you. Okay, so thank you, Jason, for meeting with me today. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to talk to us a little bit about Skip a Pay. So can you tell me first, before we really dive in, can you just kind of give me a brief overview of what Skip a Pay is?
So sure, we wanted to do something to assist our members during this time with so much uncertainty going around. We wanted to be there as much as we could for our membership. So what we are basically going to do is roll everyone's due date forward by 60 days. Typically, we offer a Skip a Pay a couple of times a year on demand. Members, basically have to request it, but we're going to do a blanket skip for all of our members who have loans during this time. And so, very simply put, we will roll everyone's due date ahead 60 days. There are some exclusions. If you are, 31 days or greater delinquent, of course, that would be excluded, and there are some loan products that are excluded. For example, mortgages and credit cards are excluded from this program, but we do have some individual assistance that's available on a case-by-case basis for members with those products.
I'll definitely ask you some specific questions about the program in just a moment. But first, can you share a little bit more about why Envision decided to even do this in the first place? I mean, it's probably an obvious question and an obvious answer, but not a lot of financial institutions are doing this right now. So can you just tell me from a higher level, why are we choosing to do this, and what impact are we expecting to see it make for members?
That's right. And as I said, we wanted to be very sensitive to members who potentially have their hours cut back at work, or were potentially having to stay home during this time because their employers were maybe shut down. Maybe they had childcare issues and things like that. And we're very cognizant of the fact that there are other expenses that they need to pay. Trees, light bill, phone bill, things like that. And we wanted to offer as much assistance as we could to be able to allow them to meet those needs while this is going on and unfolding. There's so much uncertainty right now, and we wanted to place a little reassurance back in everyone's brains and everyone's minds during this, that we're here to help, and we want to help as much as we can.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've already seen some members posting on social media, thank you so much. Yep. A lot of people who are just really scared about the future, about what the next 30 days are going to look like for their household. So it's no doubt that the decision to do this is certainly for those members who have been impacted already, but also we're kind of trying to get ahead of the curve here. It sounds like we're trying to, hopefully everything will be better in 30 days, but we don't know, right? No one has a ball.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about details then. Tell me what loans qualify for the skip.
Well, it probably would be easier to list the ones that don't.
Okay, let's go that route.
We have the mortgage products, of course, that would not qualify. So, first mortgage, a home equity line of credit, those products would not qualify. Credit cards that are Envision backed do not qualify for this skip. A loan that potentially could be charged off would not qualify, or a loan that is greater than 31 days past due at that point would not qualify.
Okay.
So basically everything else will qualify for the skip.
Okay, so let's back up to the credit card question real quick, or the credit card statement that you made. What do you mean that's not Envision backed? How would a member know which credit card they have?
No, a credit card that is Envision backed. So if we have issued a credit card, yes. If we've issued the credit card while it is Envision branded, it is a separate entity and backed by a separate company than Envision. So those credit card holders will need to reach out directly to the company by calling the number on the back of their card.
Okay.
We have been in contact, of course, with the companies that we partner with for those services, and both companies are more than willing and more than happy to work with members on an individual basis, as long as they just need to reach out directly to the company.
Okay, and I can think of the Elan credit card company that we partner with. Are there any others?
There is Elan, yep, and there is Fiserv.
Okay.
We do have a few Fiserv cards still out there, and again, they would just need to reach out to the number on the back of their card to card member services to set up some kind of payment arrangements or payment plans there.
Okay, so regardless of which partner is funding that card or who is that card holder, then they can always just call the number on the back, regardless of Elan or Fiserv. So they don't necessarily need to come call you, right? Or call our call center, because our call center is going to need to work with the support teams for those other companies. So they're better off just calling them directly as well.
Exactly.
That's good. And that'll free up our call center to handle some of the other skip and pay questions as well for some of those other loan products that you mentioned. Okay,
right.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. So the next question I have for you is, well, you already mentioned the scenarios that members, maybe account types or memberships that would not qualify. And it sounds like this is a program where members are not opting in for, as our past skip and pay programs. Every member who has a loan that qualifies in this program, we're automatically rolling their payments forward 60 days. They can't call us and say that I don't want that, correct?
That is correct, but I would back up and say that they can continue to make their payments during this
okay,
time.
That was my next question.
That's the next question.
Okay, good.
So yes, the due dates will automatically roll, that they can continue to make their payments. Now, we will stop the automatic payments. We will suspend those as well. So if you have a payroll deduction or any kind of an automatic payment that goes to your loan, that will be suspended over the next 60 days as well. So that money will remain in your checking or savings account where it's initially deposited. So there'll be some extra money there. If you would like to continue to make the payment during this time, though, you can certainly do that manually.
Okay, that's really good information to know, because for those of us who have our accounts on auto pay or payroll deduction, we may assume it's still going to go through. But in this case, all of those are going to be stopped. So that's good to know. So we can make a manual payment. And just for those of us that we'll be sharing this information with later, the ways that you folks can make payments are through, you can use our drive up teller services at any of our branch locations. You can also
do it online.
Payment online. You can use the app to make your payment. You can call us as well for some payments. You can, but that's probably not the most convenient way for you. You can certainly online, or if you want to speak to a live teller, you can speak to a live teller and take care of any questions or payments between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That's Eastern Standard Time.
Right. That's right.
Okay. All right. And so one question that I've already heard a couple of folks ask is about the interest. Is the interest still accruing in the 60-day window? And can you tell me how that works?
So yes, the interest will still continue to accrue while the payments are suspended. And again, if you continue to make your payments, you will, of course, pay the interest that's due at that point. The interest will continue to accrue. So the first time that you make your payment at the end of this 60-day skip period, that interest will be collected at that point. So you still have a balance out there that's accruing interest. You're just skipping and suspending that payment for 2 months.
And it doesn't change the payment amount, correct?
It does not change the payment amount. What it will do is extend the payment payoff date, or the loan payoff date.
Okay.
So in essence, if you had a 60-month or 5-year note, then you would pay it off in 62 months rather than 60 months.
Okay, perfect. That's crystal clear. Thank you for clearing that up. Okay, so April 1, so are all payments that are due in the month of April beginning tomorrow. This is not an April Fool's joke. This is
Not an April Fool's
reals. Okay, so all payments beginning April 1 are being rolled back. So how is that going to look on? So if let's say I have a loan payment that's due on April 15th, we're going to, I can see it beginning tomorrow, or do I see it beginning the 15th? I'll see it beginning tomorrow. Or can I see it now?
No, you'll see it beginning tomorrow. So if your due date is initially April 15th, then what you'll see tomorrow is the due date of June 15th.
Okay, so anyone should be able to see that future due date in their online banking or on their statements if they get statements, things like that. Okay, so if any members have questions or anyone has questions about the Skip a Pay program, who do they need to talk to?
They can contact the call center. They can ask to speak to someone in loan services, and we're happy to answer any questions that they have.
Okay, wonderful. And members can also chat with us from our website, envisioncu.com, and they can also email us securely through online banking. So if you're logged into online banking and you want to ask us a question, you can secure email that way as well. Be sure not to message us your member information through an unsecure format like social media and things like that. But certainly they can call the contact center. We have experts that are lined up, ready to go, starting tomorrow for sure, specifically about this topic and many others, of course, that we've been addressing. But if you have any, you can certainly reach out and ask. So Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was some really good stuff Jason had to say, Kelly.
Yeah, so, all those questions that I asked him, I know are questions that a lot of members have, like, exactly how the program works, and do I have to pay interest still, and when do I pay that, and does my payment change, and all that. So just to reiterate, which you heard on the video, as of today, if you log into online banking, you'll be able to see the date rolled already. So if you have a loan that's due April 1st, it now says June 1st. So be sure to go check your online banking or your app to make sure everything it looks correct for you. But that gives you an idea of how now that extra income. So let's say you have a $500 loan, right? That's $1,000.
Huge. That's huge.
That is huge. So I am so proud that Envision is doing that, and that our board of directors and our executive team felt passionately about making that happen for our members, because that's giving everyone. So I hope that members will be very wise with this. Don't you?
Indeed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's already something you can go ahead and say, all right, on my next paycheck now, I don't have to allocate, X number of dollars towards that loan payment like you normally would. So let's just recap. Let me remind everyone where to go to see MoneyWise. So they can go explore other money topics, go back and see the fraud protection one from last week, or go finish the budget one that we started today. So let me just remind everyone, where to go to do that. So when you go to our website, envisioncu.com, hover over resources, MoneyWise right here. Takes you to this landing page. Just click start MoneyWise now by clicking right here. And that's going to take you to our MoneyWise page where you can explore all those money topics. Here's the other really cool thing that I love about MoneyWise. You can fill out a quick little survey. It takes less than 60 seconds, and it will customize a playlist based on your stage of life. Isn't that really cool?
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like
it's really
it's like a personal counselor in an electronic setting. It holds you accountable because the things that you put in there, it's going to remind you of. I love this whole playlist.
It's really neat. And I love that every playlist is 5 minutes or less, maybe 6 minutes, depending on how much you spend making decisions. But so they're easy. They get right down to the point, right? And they're customizable for you. So it's really fun. I love it. And so before we leave, let me remind everyone, we are doing a $25 Visa gift card giveaway today for those of you who comment or share, right? And we are also doing a giveaway within MoneyWise, which we do this every month. So you may not have known about this. For every playlist you complete, you're entered to win. At the end of every month, so today is the first day of a new month, so the end of April, we will draw a winner that's going to win a $100 card. So,
what? Say that again.
$100 drawing, right? So for every playlist you complete, you're entered to win. It's that easy. We've had a winner in each of the first 3 months of the year. So go online, explore those playlists. You're going to learn a lot. Get your kids involved, you know, if they, teenagers, this is such good stuff for them, right? And, you know, remember, we're here for you. We're here for you all. If you have any questions about Skip a Pay, Jason gave you instructions on where to go. You can always call us. You can always chat with us online. You can always pull up to a drive-through 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That's Eastern Standard Time. Click on the teller function to speak with a live teller in our drive-through. You can also securely email us through online banking. So there's a lot of ways to connect with us, a lot of convenient ways to connect with us. Don't hesitate if you have a question. You can also message us on Facebook if you have questions. Just please don't put any personal information out there because that may not be secure. So we want to make sure that you're safe. So thank you all. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Herschel, for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be back next week with another money topic. Same place, same time. We'll see you then.
We'll see you there. Bye, guys.